Lovelies, Haruka here, and today I'm actually doing a book review. So a month ago, Mary and I were at Barnes & Noble, and I just out of the corner of my eye happened to catch a book that had Black Widow in the title. I'm a huge advocate for more female superheroes being the central lead characters in their own stories. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if I want to buy it because it was, let's see how much. It was 18 bucks, so a little bit expensive because it is hardback, but I kind of felt like I had to because I wanted to show my support because please Marvel, give us a Black Widow movie one day. But anyways though, so I'm going to do a review about this book, and before we begin, I'll show you the front cover. Black Widow Forever Read. It's by Margaret Stoll, who is a #1 New York Times bestselling author, for whatever that means. The New York Times list, for your average reader, I consider it whatever, don't follow it. But anyways though, so there are going to be spoilers in this review. So if you've picked up the book or you're thinking about buying it and you don't want to be spoiled, quit watching this now, exit out, come back and watch it after you've read. Or watch this anyways, and I'm going to try to avoid main plotline spoilers, but to explain my feelings about certain parts of the book, I do have to give you a little bit of info. So on that note, let's begin. So the first thing I have to say about the book is it is a YA novel, which that's fine. A lot of the books that I enjoy are YA novels. Harry Potter, back here behind me, very clearly a YA novel. But the writing style I thought was a bit low for a YA novel. I really think they underestimated their readers, but that's just me personally. It was just something that I happened to notice while I was reading it. My biggest complaint that I've already told a million of my friends about, there were grammatical errors and typos. This is a published book by a #1 New York Times bestselling author. You would think that one, she would know better, and two, her editor would have actually proofread the manuscript before sending it off to print. And Marvel even has their stamp on it right there so you can see. So Marvel signed off on this. You'd think someone from Marvel would have proofread it, but no. There were typos and grammatical errors. That bugged the crap out of me. There's no excuse for that. And what was so bad is every time there was an error, it took me out of the story because I had to reread what I had just read to figure out, one, why it looked weird / wrong, and two, to make sure I got the point of that sentence. And this is not just me being, oh, I have a degree in English, blah, blah, blah. These are very, very simple grammatical errors. One was a subject-verb agreement, and I double-checked, looked it up. It was actually wrong. And another, one of the characters' names is Ava, and the first A out of her name wasn't printed. And it wasn't like there was a spot there and the printer skipped over it. It wasn't like blank space of VA. It was just VA with a lowercase v. So clearly there should have been a capital A in front of it. I don't know why no one caught that. And then another one where the words had this were printed twice in a sentence. So it was something like blah, 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 had this, blah, blah, blah. There's really no excuse for that. Not when you've got a publishing company, a published author, this was not her first book, and Marvel. There's no excuse for that. That really, really irked me. And the style of the writing, like I already said, I thought it was a little bit lower level for a YA novel. But I read a lot of fan fiction in addition to all the books behind me. It kind of felt like I was reading a fanfic. And that's not what I'm expecting out of a novel. Like, I love fan fiction, don't get me wrong, the short little stories. Some of them are actually novella length. I think one or two actually might be novel length that I've read. But there's a distinction when you're reading a fanfic on your computer versus holding a physical copy of a book in your hand. And it really felt like a fanfic. And that bugged me a bit. Some people may not pick up on that, and good for you. That was just something I picked up on. It didn't make me hate the story. It was just something I noticed and kind of felt off to me. I wanted this to read more like a novel than a fanfic. So, let's see what else I have to say about it. Those were the bad things, basically. I know it sounds like I hated the book, so I went through the bad things first. I didn't hate it. I'd probably give it a 5 just because the things I found wrong with the book were pretty major for me. Someone else, they may not be a problem at all. And if that's the case, then good for you. You can give it a higher score than I did. But I do want to talk about the things I enjoyed, which the reason I bought the book in the first place, Black Widow, main female protagonist, and I was not disappointed by that at all. She definitely, I would argue that there are 2 main leads and then a third lead that appears later on in the storyline. He begins as a secondary character and then becomes a main character. And so Black Widow, Natasha, for those of you who haven't seen any of the Avengers movies, she was a main character in this, and that just made me so happy. And the other main character was also female. How awesome is that? And then the third character that started as secondary became a primary. He was male, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with it. And what I really, really liked about this is you had 2 very strong female protagonists in this. And it didn't fall into any of the stereotypical female tropes that I worry about a lot when it comes to anything to do with female superheroes. And what I mean by that is, for example, one of the characters, Ava, who Natasha and Ava are what I consider the 2 main female characters in this. There comes along a guy, and there's a hint of romantic interest. And he is kind of hitting on her, which, again, I don't have a problem with. And Ava's the one who sits there and goes, we can't focus on this romance thing right now. We gotta go do something else. It's way more important. She never let herself be sidetracked by a boy. She did not become that character who, even though I'm a strong female, oh, here's my romantic interest, now I can't even tie my shoes. She did not do that at all, which I was so happy about, because I was very worried about that when they introduced the male character in this. That didn't happen. And Natasha, even though she did not have a love interest in this, she does become close with Ava and the male character, whose name is Alex. And even though she becomes close with them, and she does show emotion, I don't want you to think that, Natasha didn't show any emotion in this, but she's very logical about it, which stays true to her character. She's a very logical person. She acknowledges, okay, I'm thinking of these things and I'm feeling these things, but I can't let that interfere with my job. And that was amazing, because that was another worry I had, was that they were going to take away her defining characteristics. and they didn't. So I'm sure Marvel had a hand in that, which I'm very happy about. One thing I did enjoy was actually Russian words were used in this, and you either got a direct translation within 2 or 3 sentences after the word / phrase was used, or you had enough context clues to realize what that Russian word meant or what the statement meant, which I found that really interesting. I thought that was just kind of a neat thing. And then of course, throwback to Natasha Romanoff, Red Room, Russia, all that stuff. I thought that was really good. And I was actually really surprised to see Tony Stark in this, which I am not complaining whatsoever. I love Tony Stark, Team Iron Man, and Coulson was in this. So that leads my question to, what universe does this book take place in? It very clearly takes place in one of the Avengers universes. From what I can tell, I think it actually takes place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe after the Avengers movie. I feel the impression I got was that she tweaked it so that at least Tony Stark and Natasha knew that Coulson survived. I don't know if that's correct. I did not see anything that stated this is the universe this takes place in, and these are the tweaks I made to make my book fit within that universe. But that was the impression that I got. So I thought that was really cool, because at one point, the boy, Alex, he's hanging out with a friend and they're kind of fanboying over the Avengers, and that's pretty cool. I thought that was really neat. It's kind of a tie-in to the movies in a way. Tweaked a bit, of course, because of the whole Coulson thing. But I thought that was really neat. I was not expecting either one of them to be in the book, and I actually really did love the way that Margaret Stoll wrote their characters in this book. Nothing seemed untrue or like something very hinky. None of that. It felt very true to their characters, to me at least. And same with Natasha. I felt that she had a good understanding of who Natasha Romanoff is. So I thought that was pretty good. So the plot of this. I mentioned earlier I felt that this read like a fanfic. Part of that was the writing style. A little part of it was the plot line itself. Again, I'm not bashing fan fiction. I love fan fiction. But again, this is a novel. I expected something a little bit different. The plot I did enjoy. I thought it was a very interesting plot, and the way the book is set up, it gives you locations and also like a transcript from a DoD hearing, which I thought was pretty neat. So I like the way that that was done for the plot, because I thought that it added something extra to the plot to be written that way. And the plot line was really good. It was basically, here's a girl who her world basically changes, and she has a connection to Natasha. I'm not gonna tell you what it is though. And she knows S.H.I.E.L.D. exists, she knows all these things exist, and she has to come to terms with knowing these things exist and what her place is in the world. And that's a great plot for a YA novel. It really, really is. I think it was really good. The first couple of chapters, it did take me a little bit to get into. And again, I think that was the writing style, not necessarily the plot. But overall, especially at the end, when she tied everything up in the last chapter, put a nice little bow on it, I really, really enjoyed that part of the plot, because I felt that she explained everything. She gave a hint of how the future was going to look for these characters, and she didn't perform any last minute, oh, I'm going to throw this twist in there and just make you hate the story, even though you liked it for 99% of the book. So all in all, the plot I thought was pretty good. Overall, I was super excited to see a Black Widow novel that Marvel signed off on. That is a good step in the right direction for female superheroes having their own leads. I wish that they would have paid a bit more attention to the product that they ended up delivering to the fans. The grammar and the typos, there's really no excuse for that. I don't think that they proofread it, or not enough people proofread it maybe. I was happy, like I said, that Natasha Romanoff had her own novel. I thought that was really neat. Hopefully we can maybe have a movie one day and find out what happened in Budapest with Hawkeye. I really hope so, because I want to know what happened. But overall, excited that this book exists. Sad that, well, not sad, disappointed is a better word. Disappointed that they didn't perfect the product. And the reason why I think this needed to be perfect is when there's so little to choose from for Black Widow centric whatever, you really got to put your best foot forward on that, because then that opens the doors for more things Black Widow centric. I mean, we've got tons of Captain America and Iron Man, which, I mean, I'm not complaining, I just think Black Widow should have some stuff too. But all in all, if you are the type of person who grammar isn't going to bug you, and you like Natasha Romanoff, want to see her as a central character, I do recommend this book. If grammar bothers you like it does me, think about how much it will bother you. I would say you're going to have to weigh it on this one, because I'm glad I read the book. I can't say that I regret spending the money on this, but it is always going to irk me that there were grammar and typo errors in this. But all in all, it was decent, and I really hope if you go out and get this book, share it with people. I'm probably going to lend this to a friend to Mary when I see her next. I'm probably going to lend this to her so she can read it. And just show support. We really, really need more Natasha Romanoff in our lives. So on that note, here's the book again so you can all see. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you've read the book and have your own thing to say about it, please put something in the comments. I would really love to see what you thought about the book, because this is just my opinion. I'm not a professional reviewer by any means. On that note, go out and read some more, kids. So have a good night, day, evening, wherever you are. Bye, guys.